Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hey, great to be here. Great to be here. It is just a wonderful crowd here. Do we have anybody from Lee Summit here? All right. I teach at Longview. Good for you. Good for you. Hey, do we have any Chiefs fans here? Hey, all right. Right. How about MU fans? KU fans? Now, KU fans, you don't be slumping now. Football season's over. Basketball season's up tonight. We're going. But you know how you get MU, KU fans together? 5 words. Kansas City Chiefs, Pat Mahomes. And we're all the team, right? We're all on board, aren't we? All on board. All right, good. Hey, before I get started here, I'd like to ask, are there any veterans in the audience here today? Could the veterans please stand up and be recognized? Veterans Day next week. Stand up, please, sir. Absolutely, sir. Thank you. Now, all the families of veterans, all the families, spouses, cousins, all the families, please stand up. Oh, good show. Good job. Okay, now you go all sit down so I can talk now. Okay. You know, I met the former Vice President Dick Cheney on 2 occasions, once in the White House, once in Fort Leavenworth, about 4 years apart. Now, both times I met the Vice President, within 1 week of my meeting, he shot somebody. Don't go hunting with Dick Cheney. But he had some pearls of wisdom. He said, you know, Colonel Johnson, it's great to be here at Fort Leavenworth in the heart of America. And I believe he's right. This is the heart of America. We stand for what's right here. We stand for hard work ethic, and you reap what you sow. And so my presentations are pretty simple, folks. You see here, I'm a knuckle dragger. You know, they say, hey, you're getting smart. Those knuckles are moving up off the ground. Okay, Neanderthal man, got it. There's no whiz-bang slides here and fancy. That's all you got. I'm just going to make 3 quick points here in the 45 minutes I have here today. Okay, give or take. In conclusion, you know, I can't think of a slide that helps you when you're literally in fear of your life and the enemy is literally right there. And you're feared for your life and you're feared for the life of your people. And you're already thinking to go to that wise house and say, I made it back, your husband didn't. That puts fear in you. Sometimes so scared that you have no control over your bodily functions. And you know, no PowerPoint slide can really magnify that. Or how about this? You're laying in a hospital bed and you're maybe dying, or a loved one, and that angelic nurse touches your hand. You know, no PowerPoint slide can express that to you. Or how about this? You have your dear friend who you've known for 15 or 20 years. Your kids have played ball together. Your wives are friends. And you have to tell that person, look them eye to eye and face to face and say, you're fired. That's tough. And no PowerPoint slide can match that either. So what you see is what you get. And I found the hardest things in life are what build your character, what makes you who you are. Because it's hard to do the right thing, isn't it? I mean, I think back to my experiences, and the hard path I chose were the path that built me who I am. I mean, the Special Forces course, 8 months of pure hell, where they try to kill you emotionally, mentally, physically, for 8 months. And yet, you walk out of there when 80% of your peers who were bigger, stronger, tougher, smarter than you didn't make it out. You made it out of there, and that was hard, but it gave me my life. Since that time, being a Special Forces officer, seeing me go to 60 countries around the world, meet the president of the White House, and have some great things. It all couldn't have happened if I didn't do the hard right over the easy wrong. For the mothers in our audience, we're trying to get our kids to go with the right people and hang with the right crowd because it's easy to go with the wrong crowd. They're having fun. They don't care about school. They just want to have fun. You know, it's easy to go with that crowd. The hard thing would be to stand up and says, you know, you might lose 20 friends. I'll take that chance because this is the right thing to do. Stand up for the hard right over the easy wrong. You know, on February 24th, 1991, in going into Iraq, Saddam Hussein had the 3rd largest army in the world, and they were during the Gulf War, and they were prepared to pummel us. They had an obstacle system set up to include a minefield that was ungodly here. Trenches filled with oil and set on fire. Artillery and tanks hiding behind that. I watched in a 12-hour period 270 of my colleagues, Egyptian soldiers, killed in action, lost their lives that day. And I remember in the minefield hearing the screams and shrieks of 2 Egyptian soldiers who were near death in the minefield, and nobody was going to help them. It was too dang hard to do. And so we had to make a decision. Do we go into the minefield to help? These are human beings, the most valuable resource we have. Do we go into that minefield to get them, or we don't? Easy thing would have been, they're not Americans, they're not mine, I'm not responsible, not going to do it. The hard thing to do is to go in there and get them out, which we did. But we couldn't have done it if we were an absolute bona fide team, with our only fear was letting our teammates down. And so we went in that minefield, and it got so bad, we literally on our hands and knees crawling through and with our knives, K-bars, literally trying to feel our way through the minefield to get these 2 people out. And we got them out. Our medics literally had to amputate their legs with the old Special Forces saws. This was like 120 years earlier in the Civil War. It was a painful, gruesome experience, but those people left their lives, stayed alive, and were living a wonderful life. Last I checked, about 10 years ago in Cairo, medically retired, of course. That was hard, folks, but that was the right thing to do. As a matter of fact, the American chain of command would have not given me permission to go in the minefield to get them out. Didn't bother to call them because I knew it was the right thing to do. I knew if I had called them and asked permission, I was subject to being court-martialed. Didn't bother to make the call because I knew it was the right thing to do. Think about all the decisions we make, the hard decision, the right decision. Whether you climb Mount Everest or climb Mount Sunflower, whatever's the hardest thing to do gives you character, gives you who you are. Like Mr. Ford was saying, it builds character, the hard things. The easy things, you don't even remember them. So when you're instilling in your kids and your coworkers, do the right thing, and the right thing is almost always the hard thing to do. Think about our PhD test, how they make it hard. Remember, those barriers and obstacles aren't to see how keep you out. They're to see how bad you really want this. You go through this barrier, this barrier, this barrier. How bad do you really want this? I used to think the other way around. Oh, those are just to keep you out. They don't want everybody to do it. No, they're to see how bad you want it. And it's hard. Hard right or easy wrong. The next part. How many people here have heard of an African-American ball player by the name of Jackie Roosevelt Robinson? Yeah. Of course, right here, the Kansas City Monarchs. We number 42, retired in every single uniform now. Jackie Robinson. Martin Luther King told him one time, you've done more, Mr. Robinson, for civil rights than I could ever begin to do. You are civil rights. Because you see, before he came along, merit didn't count as much as skin color and everything else. Think about it. Merit-based society versus society based on, okay, this guy's 6 foot over, he can do this, or this is a woman, he can do that. No, we don't want the heart surgeon. We don't care what color or what gender they are. We want the best heart surgeon, don't we? We want a dental clinic to go pull our teeth. We want the best dentist. We don't care what gender or what color they are. We want the best dentist. Well, before Jackie Robinson came along, that wasn't always the case. So he showed a whole world how to change into a merit-based society. How you are skilled and you're there based on your merit, not anything else. And we've come to take that for granted. But before he was around, he was the first. You know, how many people here know that Jackie Robinson was also an officer in the United States Army? Do we know that? That's right. On Veterans Day here, we're going to remember Jackie Robinson was a young lieutenant in the United States Army as well. He served his nation in uniform. Jackie Robinson did so many great things. In '55, the Dodgers finally beat the Yankees in the World Series. Jackie Robinson was the most valuable player. He got several most valuable player years award. He was elected to Cooperstown in the Hall of Fame. He has more awards that probably fill up 3 or 4 of these classrooms. But here's what Jackie Robinson said that's important. It's his lasting memento. That quote right there is from his tombstone. Jackie Robinson on his tombstone today has nothing about being a baseball player, nothing about being an Army officer, nothing about being in the Hall of Fame. All it says is a life is not important except in the impact it has on others. And to me, that's awesome. To me, that's the basics of my 2 leadership books I wrote. Because leaders make a difference. Leaders have an impact on everything we do. I don't care whether you're a Little League coach or a Little League baseball team or a dance team or a church youth group. You make a difference. Be someone worth emulating. Be someone they want to stand up and say, hey, I want to be like that person. And by the way, that means 24/7. oh, I'm off duty now so I can just get naked and run wild and vomit in the bowling alley. No. When you're outside your door, you're on duty 24/7. The only time you can do all that stuff is when your house is all boarded up and nobody sees it. You can let it go. But when you're out in public, you're on the public eye. To be a leader worth emulating. Be a leader someone would run through that brick wall for, like Jackie Robinson was. The last thing, the all-important moment. We all have them, and they're all important, obviously. But it's that moment that if this didn't happen, I would have changed. You know, I've had many of those all-important moments. I know you have too. But one of the all-important moments stands out to me is in the Philippines in the early 1980s, my Special Forces team had an operation. We were going to conduct a successes operation. It was going to be wonderful. We were all ready to go for it. We were well trained. At the last minute, they took it away from us and gave it to a SEAL platoon from Hawaii. And we were so upset. We were so mad. How dare they do that? How can they? We were totally trained. And yet, they took it away from us. The mission went the next day, and the MC-130 aircraft was lost at sea. We fly real low to the sea, as you know, and it's like concrete. It hit, all 24 SEALs killed instantly. That was an all-important moment for me. That should have been me on that plane. And I've had many others like that, too. When I was a young child, my father was in the Air Force in Germany. My Sunday school teacher was a young man by the name of Richie Mayo, M-A-Y-O, Richard Mayo. Richie Mayo was a hotshot fighter pilot, F-4 Phantoms of the day, the 1960s, and he taught us Sunday school. He was a man of God and taught us Sunday school and a wonderful guy, a great leader. But Richie Mayo tells a story about his all-important moment. He was a football player, a quarterback at the Air Force Academy, late 1950s. And a new coaching regime came in. And he was changed from the quarterback, he was changed to running back. And the new coaching regime came and says, Mayo, you're wearing number 12. That's a quarterback's number. What are you doing in the running back's line? He goes, well, I changed last spring, and I'm now a running back, a fourth-string running back. He goes, get back over in that quarterback line. You're a quarterback. And he goes, oh, sir, I haven't thrown the ball. Get back over there. The coach was Pepper Rogers, who was the KU Orange Bowl coach in '68. This is 1960 at the Air Force Academy. So Richie Mayo reluctantly went back to the quarterback's line, and within 2 years, 1960, he made the cover of Street Smith's magazine, was a first-team All-American quarterback. And he looks back to that day that Pepper Rogers says, get over in that line, as this all-important moment that changed his life forever. Had a young lady, a student of mine, who was going to meet her fiancé at a restaurant, and she had a terrible car accident, and she couldn't meet the fiancé, was taken to the hospital, and she met a young nurse there, gentlemen. And to make a long story short, 18 months later, that young nurse and her got married. And the one she was supposed to get married, you know, this is 15, 20 years later, has turned out to go through 3 marriages, had all kinds of trouble, and yet she and her husband there have had 3 wonderful kids, are great citizens. But that was her all-important moment. If she hadn't had an accident that day, she could have been married to Mr. Crumball over that day. So what's your all-American moment? You've had them, and you're going to continue to have them. What's more importantly, what's your children's all-American moment? When they make that hard right choice or the easy wrong choice, that could be a life changer for them. In closing, with Veterans Day coming next week, we have so many wonderful veterans and veterans' families, which I don't distinguish between the veteran's family and the veteran. My wife and daughters, they served 22 years like I did. Nobody was shooting at them, but they had it pretty tough. And so I want to bring you back, if I can, to Bastogne, Belgium, the Battle of the Bulge. How many people have seen the movie Battle of the Bulge? Okay. It was when the Germans put their last-ditch effort. The Americans thought they'd be home by Christmas, 1944. Not happening that way. And the Germans put their last-ditch effort. They put their big Panzer tanks up against the smaller American Sherman tanks, and they were getting obliterated on the battlefield. And one Sherman tank drove his tank backwards, 360, got out of there, and was streaming down the lane to get away from that battlefield. And as he strummed away from that battlefield, he come across a lone, one single young 18-year-old 82nd Airborne Division infantryman of the United States Army. And he pulled up the road, the young infantryman right here in the road blocked him, and he had his one rifle there. And the tanker got out of the turret and says, what are you doing? What are you doing? The whole enemy's behind us. And he goes, are you looking for a safe place? Are you looking for a safe place? He goes, yes, the whole German army is after me. Then get out of the tank and come stand right behind me, because today the enemy stops right here, right here. And you see, that kind of vigor, that kind of enthusiasm, that kind of excitement, that kind of inspiration is how we should live every single day of our life. God bless you all. Thank you for having me here today.